Building a successful product is just a step number one of becoming a great product manager and growing a successful company. And actually growing a product and scale your product is very difficult for majority company to reach their product market fit and become the next billion-dollar company. And today we had the pleasure to have Aakash Gupta, who had years of experience growing successful technology product and also growing his own personal brand as well. And he is going to share with you the in-depth knowledge and secrets regarding how to grow a technology product so that you'll become the next unicorn in the tech space. Hey guys, this is Dr. Nancy Lee, a direct product featured in Forbes. I've helped thousands of people land their dream PM job offer in FAANG companies and unicorn startup and continue to get promoted as a product leader. In this channel, we talk about tech trends and free product management training. Like and subscribe, check out our new video every Tuesday. Hey Aakash, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
Awesome. So in today's Product Insider podcast, and I'm so glad to dive deeper regarding product growth. And based on my little research about you, you were someone who worked for a FAANG company at Google as a product manager, also with an MBA, and then work as a VP of product growth. And now you're starting your own personal brand and also creating very influencing newsletters in the product management space that I'm very happy and excited to dive deeper and reveal all the secrets you have learned in the past decade. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you. I've really enjoyed collaborating with you the several times we have this year. I feel like we're peas in a pod.
Yes. Cool. So Aakash, would you quickly introduce yourself and to the audience? And maybe most of you guys know you already, but would like to dive deeper regarding your past experience, how you get to where you are right now.
Like so many in product management, coming through the developer route, starting as a software engineer and being the person to ask, why are we building this? What's the impact we want to have? How are we going to know if we succeed? It started from asking fundamental questions that inform what it means to be a builder. And from 2008, joining product management, rising through to VP of product at Apollo.io, which was a unicorn company and raised at $1.2 billion while I was VP of product, was kind of my dream. And so as I hit that dream thing, the question was, what's next? And so that's where I am today, writing the newsletter, doing the podcast, and chatting with you.
Aakash, I think your intro has been quite humble. There's lots of details we didn't cover. And let me dive deeper. That's really digging into how you create those very successful growth product strategies in the past. And can you give us some very specific examples regarding a successful product that grew rapidly and what their specific product strategy?
So my career, kind of the launching pad company for my career, was this company called ThreadUp. It's actually a public company in the US that IPO'd in 2021. That's how I bought this house that we're chatting from. And the success of ThreadUp, if I break it down, when I joined, we were something like a 50-person corporate headquarters. When I left, we were something like a 600-person corporate headquarters. How did we 12x in that time? We raised Series C, D, and E. How did we do that? What were the big growth drivers to eventually drive to IPO for ThreadUp? If you break down from a product growth point of view, the levers that was number 1, 2, and 3. Number 1, I think so many people neglect this: pricing and packaging. Really building a state-of-the-art system. So if you think about the problem that ThreadUp was solving, a lot of people have used clothes and a lot of people are interested in used clothes, but your average market is your local market. You go to your local thrift store. What if you could go to a national market, right? So what we were doing is we were pricing over 25,000 items that we were listing daily. Now you could optimize that for many different things. You could optimize it for inventory turns in your warehouse because they take a lot of time in your warehouse. You could optimize that for conversion rate of your customers. You could optimize it for profits of the company. There are so many different elements you could optimize it for, and tweaking the levers, driving the outcomes we needed to drive. In the months before a series fundraising, VCs like to see accelerating growth. So pushing it more towards revenue at those times. That was lever number 1 that was really, really important. Lever 2 for ThreadUp was driving onto the growth channels that are working at the time. So I was working there from 2014 to 2017. In that time frame, what was really big referrals channel was one of the most important channels. Uber and Airbnb had kind of brought back this tactic that PayPal had created in 2001, which is if you spend $10 or if I refer a customer, their first $10 is free. And if they do that and buy, let's say, a $20 thing, then I also get $10. And so this
Yes.
was the give 10, get 10 framework. And so experimenting with the referrals channel to explosive growth. And then finally, third, thinking through how do we 10x our first visitor to paid conversion. So, what we were
Hmm.
scaling in 2014 to 2017 as a business was our Facebook marketing channels and our Google marketing channels, those pay per click marketing channels that were really, really effective 10 years ago. And we would be getting clicks at, let's say, 50 cents, highly qualified clicks. Now, it
Hmm.
means nothing if only 1% of them converts because suddenly it's at a
Yeah.
$50 conversion rate. However, what if you get 10% of them to convert? Then it's at a $5 conversion rate. What if you
Yeah.
get 20% of them to convert? Then you're at a $2.50 conversion rate. So we
Hmm.
did a whole bunch of stuff to optimize the first visit experience. One of the most effective was actually keeping an email gate so that for first visitors, if we capture your email, then we
Hmm.
can email remarket you. The second thing was, what if we made it easier for you to supply your payment information? So, what was really groundbreaking at the time was pay with Amazon. Amazon, everyone
Interesting.
had their credit card information and shipping information up to date. So, adding pay with Amazon. So, those were the
Mm.
three levers when I was at ThreadUp that were super effective. And I think they universally translate to other people, which is focus on those levers that have a lot of bang for your buck, where small engineering impact can really make a huge business impact. And it relates to kind of the business context you're in today.
Yeah, let me ask some follow up questions. And you actually gave us lots of golden nuggets regarding referrals. I do believe that referral is the best organic growth marketing strategy. So, when you talk about different kind of running ads, I think it's using a very different game out there. And especially you mentioned it was very effective years ago in like 2017 and at the time. And do you think today's the ads marketing had changed or not? Do you think people need to change different strategies, especially lots of strategies? For example, referral, I still believe that is one of the biggest drivers for organic growth because myself I believe in organic. Our company do not run ads at all, or even if I run ads, I always fail. So organic is number one. So when you run ads in terms of growth, do you think still applicable to today's economy right now?
So I think the great example is Nike, where they increased their direct response advertising spend a ton and their
Mhm.
growth slowed because they neglected brand marketing. So
Yeah,
as you become a huge company, you should look at the advertising market as a whole. It's a huge industry. It's what entirety of Google and Meta is built on, right?
yeah.
Who are advertising for them? They're generally big enterprises with a split of 80% on brand dollars, 20% on direct response. So
Hmm.
yes, direct response still works, but it's going to be roughly a fifth of the overall spend that you do. If you're Nike or you're a big enterprise, you have to pay athletes to wear your products. That's really going to move the needle for you. If you are Reforge, you want to get the top product managers to pay $2,000 for your courses so that other people do that. Same strategy for Shreyas or somebody else like that, right? He says, oh, I have Google and Amazon students taking my course, then other people want to take it as well. So if you think about the power of brand, it's huge. Brand advertising definitely matters, but
Hmm.
the direct response budget, the thing that's changed from 2014 to 2017 to 2024
Yeah,
is without fail, Meta and Google, we know they're increasing their revenue, right? How are
all the
they
time.
doing it? It's not just by more users, it's by increasing CPMs. So the
Mm.
CPMs that we were getting in 2014 compared to 2017, they almost doubled. And if you look at from 2017 to 2024, they've almost doubled again. And so what's happened is that for
Hmm.
each impression that you're getting on these platforms, you need to be able to wring more out of the impression. So the only people that ads actually work for are people who are really good at two things.
Hmm.
One, high conversion rates, that visit to purchase conversion rate,
Yeah.
and two, lifetime value. Because if you have a really, really high lifetime value, then you can pay a lot to acquire a customer. You can pay a higher CPM than your competition and you can get more reach. But if your customer is a one and done churned customer, even if you have a $100 product that's maybe, on a 50% margin, that's $50 of profit. So their
Hmm.
LTV is $50. On the other hand, if you can get them to come back 5 times and you suddenly make that a $250 LTV, you can spend $250 on cost per acquisition. So I
That's
definitely think
perfect.
ads works.
Yeah, exactly. Actually, perfect insight link back to your third point and regarding how can you 10x expense from your existing customer help them to come back again to spend more. If you don't mind me asking, when you grow the company, what kind of strategy do you use at the very beginning? And did you switch as the time goes by? As you mentioned earlier, when you raise like VC fund, you want to drive fast revenue, probably spend lots of money upfront using direct response marketing, I assume. And so in different stages, have it changed and for what reasons?
100%. I think that the best way to think about how to really rock the head of growth role, personally for me, is a monthly strategy. So
Mm,
even in my own business, just before this call, me, my head of growth, my head of podcast, my head of content, we all sat down and we talked about the December strategy because it's the end of November. And we reviewed the metrics for November. We looked at the experiments that we ran in November. We looked at the systems and tactics we built out. So that's kind of the ultimate form. That's what I do today in 2024. Back in 2014 to 2017, I had the privilege of working directly with the CEO, James Reinhart, the CMO, Anthony Marino, myself. And what I would do as head of growth is I would look at what are the things we're doing that are working, that aren't working? What are the goals we have? If we are raising VC fundraising, our revenue growth needs to increase. If
mm,
we aren't going to raise VC fundraising, maybe we need to extend our burn. Maybe we need to have higher profit. Maybe we need to have higher contribution margins. So you let your context determine what metrics matter for you. And then with a really strong understanding of the levers, you can pull those levers so that you're driving that metric that matters for you at that given point in time. And the ThreadUp strategy was always to defer profits. It was always
mm,
to grow further. So basically, we had this hypothesis that we only had covered, let's say, 1% of the secondhand clothing market in the US. But if you
mhm.
look at overall e commerce in the US, it's like 33%.
Yeah.
So we're seeing like we have a 33x to go in terms of market share. So that was our approach. And even if you look at ThreadUp today, ThreadUp is not printing cash, it's investing all its cash back. So as a result, a lot of the ways they optimize are optimizing for still scaling before they start profiting.
Awesome. So I love how in depth you break it down and bring it to today's market. And let me also ask you something else. As lots of my listeners, they are per manager, want to learn all the important skills that I just mentioned earlier. So what can they do to implement the growth strategies, and what the unique framework you recommend today's per manager to use and implement?
So I think about if you're coming into a growth role for the first
Mm-hmm.
time, the first thing you want to do is build a really strong growth model. And I think about the growth model conceptually and as a spreadsheet. Conceptually, I think about 7 layers of growth, and it depends on whether you're product or sales led. But at the highest level, the information for decision, the visitor to first purchase conversion rate, the activation, the retention, the expansion, the monetization. These are critical areas that you have to think about. And when you think about all these areas of your growth model conceptually, and you have a really good understanding of this is what drives what, then you want to go to paper. You want to go to a spreadsheet and you actually want to build out these models because you want to be able to pull 10% at one number, 5% at another number, and see what something in layer one of the funnel does to the ultimate output metrics at layer seven, which typically are revenue and profit. And so
Mm-hmm.
once you have this growth model in place, then you can take a look at where are my opportunities? The very classic Teresa Torres opportunity solution tree works really well here, which is to say, like, what are my user problems at these different layers that we have of our conceptual journey? If I were to solve those, what impact would they have in my growth model? And then you
Mm-hmm.
can go through the process of prioritizing these opportunities and having your different product managers then take these opportunities and do problem and solution refinement, where they refine exactly what the problem is. They go through a design sprint exactly on the solution, and
Yeah.
then they deploy and experiment really quickly. I think that's the essence of growth: conceptual understanding, growth model, rapid empowerment, and experimentation.
So sounds like as a growth product manager, we need to do lots of A/B testing. And can you also demystify a little bit between the differences between growth PM and traditional PM. And some of what you said earlier actually make lots of sense in terms of, hey, let's solve the customer problem within the 7 steps and figure out how you link into the growth model you guys built. So does this mean that product managers today, are we solving the customer pain point or solving the business pain point, or we're doing both? Can you demystify a little bit?
So it's the classic diagram of product management, if you think about it, which is the intersection of the customer, the business, and the
Mhm.
technology. So you need to use all three. And if you think about it, that intersection is very, very small. So you have to solve a customer problem. You have to be focused in on the part of the business that matters. And let's not forget, do something hard, technologically hard, at the forefront of what is just recently possible with technology. Because if you do something that could have been built 5 years ago, that is
Mhm.
easy for a front end developer to build, guess what? Your competitor is going to copy it. But if you go and spend $100 billion to train the next generation LLM, like OpenAI, you might just be able to create $160 billion in enterprise value.
Yeah, so you need to find like balance between these two. So, and based on my understanding, actually, lots of existing product managers, they're interested in growing into growth role. However, within the company, they usually there are not that many growth product manager roles. Usually, a product manager wearing multiple hats. Is that how it's structured nowadays?
So if you look at the growth product management role from
Mm-hmm.
2001 to 2024, it actually grew much faster than product management as a whole.
Mm-hmm.
So it's still actually early on in its life cycle and it's growing fast. In 2001 to 2024, product management grew at about 3% per year. Growth product management grew at about 5% per year. This is data
Mm-hmm.
from Live Data, who I collaborated with a piece on this topic.
Yeah.
And if you look at that faster growth rate, that's actually a really good thing about potentially switching into growth product management if you're interested, because those specialized people like myself, all my head of growth product jobs were inbound. People reached out to me because I had head growth products somewhere else. So if you
Mm-hmm.
want to have these senior roles, you have to develop this specialized functional expertise within a specific area of product management. You and I earlier this year wrote a post about AI product management. Growth is just another flavor of relevant product management, which is growing really fast. I would say growth product managers typically make a little bit less than core product managers who
Why
make,
is that?
yeah. So if you look at it, core product managers, they're usually important owning, frankly, a more important area of the business. They're owning like the core functionality that keeps the business competitive. And a
Mm-hmm.
growth product manager, they're like nitrous oxide if somebody likes car racing. They're the NOS in the Fast and Furious movie. You need a
Yes.
really good car, expensive car, really good engine, and you might drop some NOS tanks on top of it just to get it boosting faster. So that's really the role of your growth team. That's why they need to be so experimental. And that's how they can be experimental, because your core product team, if you're building a huge feature, it might take 6 months of effort. You can't just suddenly like rapidly experiment with it. So the
Mm-hmm.
growth team comes in, they take these features that are a little bit smaller. All the levers I mentioned to you,
Yeah.
most of the features we were shipping, we'd ship with them one engineer 1 week. So we're
Oh.
going at this really fast pace where if we have 5 engineers on the team, we're launching 5 experiments a week. And so then you just need a designer who can support that, which is rare. But if you can get that cool growth designer, that's the magic. A growth product manager, growth designer, and these growth engineers who they can take a Figma file that's 80% complete. And as they run into a corner case, they can just imagine up what it should be on their own.
Very interesting. Great insight. And I was surprised to hear that it actually moved that fast. So which from what I understanding is that so it sounds like a growth product manager basically have many different ideas. What can we do to drive the customer conversion, lifetime value of customers? And then they introduce smaller things. And the smaller things usually you need very limited tech resources to do A/B testing. But once you find out it's working, then you will get additional resources to build a full blown up product. Am I right?
Well, you rarely see them actually need that second part where they get additional resources to build up a full blown product.
Mm.
because they're not taking 0 to 1 bets. They're actually taking 1 to 100 bets.
Yeah.
So, in the case of the pricing system at ThreadUp, I didn't build the pricing system. It took a core product PM like 4 years to build the pricing system PM. Once they had it, I put some nitrous oxide on it. I helped it have different objective functions. I did A/B tests on this objective function versus that objective function. So
Mm.
the core product PM loved me because they had to go on to build another big feature. So oftentimes core product PMs don't even get the time to do these quick iterations. And that's where the growth team comes in. They collaborate with this core product PM. They figure out, okay, this isn't on your roadmap for this quarter. I'm going to take this part of it. We have this metric that matters for us. And it's not always conversion and LTV. If you
Mm.
look at when I was at Apollo, it was retention. If you look at my
Ah.
business today, it's actually retention of paid newsletter subscribers. So there's different sort of North Star metrics you can have given the part of your growth funnel, going back to your growth funnel, that is kind of most log jammed,
Mm-hmm.
plus you have really good ideas of opportunities within it. Some people, it's log jammed, so they just focus on it. This is actually the biggest mistake of creators is they focus so much on conversion rate that they don't realize that it's actually acquisition that they can grow really fast. So you'll often see creators that really shy away from top of the funnel content. But actually, that content can help grow your acquisition. And it might not ever be that you have a good conversion rate.
Yeah, so basically it's a funnel strategy and depends on what you laser focus on. And now also you mentioned a keywords AI. I'm very big on AI product management and we have lots of great success inside of AI PM Bootcamp. Can you tell us more regarding how AI is impacting the product management today and also growth marketing? And is AI actually help people to grow product more? And should company actually adopt AI? Is AI just another crypto market may go up and down? So what's your thought process?
If you think about AI, there's 3 types of AI PMs you should understand: the AI powered PM,
Mm-hmm.
the AI feature PM, and then the AI platform PM. The AI platform PM is working at OpenAI, Anthropic. They're
Yes.
developing the latest AI models.
Mm-hmm.
The AI feature PM, for instance, at Apollo, we launched AI email writer. So that's built on top of OpenAI APIs
Yeah.
for our specific sales tech use case within our platform for sales professionals.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the AI feature PM. And then you have the AI powered PM. This is everybody else who is still just building normal products, but they have to use AI. And I would say that, the AI powered PM, I have seen very few PMs use AI to its potential. And that's why, because you and I, we're full-time creators. So we have time to
Mm-hmm.
play with all the AI features. They're
Yeah.
working their full-time job, and companies are very hesitant to use new tools. They're worried about data and things like that versus you and I were willing to test. And
Mm-hmm.
so they're getting hamstringed by their company security policies to not try out the newest latest tech. So I kind of want to break down some of the newest latest tech for people. The first thing is
Mm-hmm.
you shouldn't be using ChatGPT. You should be using Claude.
Controversial.
You should
Why?
be
Keep
using
going.
Claude because, every product manager I've asked who's used both, they always prefer Claude. So that's the first tip. The second tip is you should be using Claude for more than what you were using ChatGPT for. So
Why?
the first thing you should be using it for is you should stop using it to write your whole thing. Right now, guys, just stop. Like, it looks horrible. What you do is you
Totally.
write the first 20% of something. You write the essence, the core insights that you as a human have made. So if you're writing your product strategy document, you write like, what you've marinated on for the last 6 months, what you've thought about in the shower. You've thought about, okay, you know what? I'm going to compete on this vector that nobody else is competing on because of all the information I've gotten. So you
Mm-hmm.
write that first 20% of your strategy document or your PRD document or your feature results write up or your weekly status update or your performance review, anything you
Mm-hmm.
have to write. All of the 5 major documents you have to write as a PM. You write the first 20%. And guess what? You can write it in broken English. I know a lot of people, they like to write it in voice mode while they're on a walk. So
Yeah.
you write the first 20%. Then you have AI take you from 20% to 80%. Now, don't stop there. because it's going to sound like AI. There's going to be some hallucinations, some
Totally.
mistakes. So then you edit it from 80 to 100%. And guess what? Each task just took you 40% the time. So you now have 60% of your busy work time to do more busy work. And so that's why you're an AI powered PM, because we all know that PMs, either they're working too much, 60 hours. Why don't you work 40 hours by being AI
Or
powered?
taking too many meetings all the time, not
Or
being
they
able to
aren't
work.
doing everything. Honestly, when I was a director and a VP and I was just polling people, I was just on a tour of India. I always ask people, do you do consistent feature results write-ups for all of your features? Nobody said yes. Nobody. That means all PMs have an opportunity to do more of those. And
Yeah.
AI can actually help you finish those up.
What do you think? How can AI solve my pain point as a PM earlier? I was in too many meetings. That's how I felt, especially when I was like as a director later on. The more senior you are, the more meeting you sit in. And then you're like, even as a director, we need to create strategies, right? So lots of times I'd rather I spend less time in meetings. Let me just sit down, do strategies. And even I have so many students currently in all the fan company. I ask them, how much time do you spend on meeting versus actual work? They're like, oh, 7 hours meeting every single day. And then so finally, after all the meetings over, I can focus on what I need to work on, really brainstorm new ideas or writing PRD, different things. So do you think AI can help us reduce time, and how?
Exactly. It can. Because here's the thing. You have 7 hours of meetings on your calendar, but if you have smart and good colleagues, they're giving you 10 minutes back at the end of the meeting that ends early. Or you yourself are running half those meetings typically. So you should be in the habit of, if there's 5 minutes left, don't just drone on repeating the takeaways and telling people you're going to send an email and small talking. End the meeting and use the 5 minutes. And here's the thing, in the world of AI, you can actually accomplish something in 10 minutes. You can actually accomplish something in 5 minutes. So you want to get in there and you want to use those blocks. And as a leader, the funny thing is you get more meetings on your calendar, but you still have to do IC work. So you have one of two options. You can stay up late after your kids go to bed, which is what 99% of people do, or you can do the AI powered leader approach, which is, in this 15 minutes, I'm going to create a new strategy guidance for my team. In these 15 minutes, I'm going to summarize to my CEO the relevant things that I want to ship next quarter so he gets a heads up on headcount planning. In these 15 minutes, I'm going to create an audit of all of the areas within our product that are falling apart, right? If you create these work products and you're consistently sending them to your leaders, they're going to love you as a leader. And so using AI as a leader is even more important than as a PM, because that's how you spend way less time actually developing the thing. You develop the core insight. Maybe the core insight is that you need to query some data. So you tell the AI, this is the SQL queries that help me write these SQL queries, so that you don't have to build that part. Or you tell the AI, I have this data table. I downloaded the SQL query, create the chart for me. It's very good at creating those charts nowadays. So if you plug it into your workflow as a leader, it's not going to help you reduce meetings, because let's be honest, as a PM, that's why the PM job is so safe, unlike developers or designers, because we have so many meetings. AI can't take those meetings. So
and
take
all the
those
human,
meetings and do a
touch
better
of the
job in
rapport.
those meetings too, which is use AI to prepare you for the important meetings. So before any product review with a VP, you should send out a pre-read like 48 hours before. How do you do that? You use AI to send it out 48 hours before. And then in those 48 hours, half an hour before the meeting, have a little hold on your calendar and send the pre-read to AI and say, hey, act as my VP of product. He always zeroes in on 2 to 3 areas that he really thinks the person PM just missed. Now tell me what those 2 to 3 are. And then record yourself on Zoom answering those. Then you're really going to succeed in your meetings. And meetings are super, super important in my opinion.
Yeah, that's such a great genius idea. Actually, this is one of the top secret for leaders to get promoted and actually impress your leadership, that leading you to the next level of your career promotion, which lead me to ask very curious questions. So Aakash, so what's your career path to become the VP of product? Do you have any advice for people to get promoted? This is like literally the perfect segue to this question.
So I had the exact normal career, and I highly recommend you guys do too. everybody I talk to is in a rush. They're like, I want to become a VP in 8 years. Well, here's my thought. You're going to fail if you're a VP after 8 years. Do you suddenly think that the VP of marketing or the VP of sales is going to want to talk to a 28-year-old? No. If they're 36, they're going to want to talk to a 36-year-old with 15 years, 16 years of experience like themselves. And so there's no rush. Being a product manager is already a senior role. You've already nailed the senior role. In fact, I personally think we need to see more people with just the title product manager with 30 years experience. I think that's really going to help the field. And we need to obviously pay them. But I think like title inflation, it doesn't matter. So I progressed the normal way. I started as a real PM. I went through senior PM, lead PM, director, head of, and VP. So that was my prediction on things. There were some bumps and valleys along the way. Everybody's going to have them. Sometimes I had 7 people on my team and then it was reduced to 4 because we hired a new leader who took 3 of them. But I eventually grew it back, or I took another job where I was able to grow it back above that. So there were bumps and valleys along the way. For me, the number one thing, and this is what I coach a lot of people who, when I was a director and VP on, is take your performance review feedback seriously. Too many people get the same performance review weaknesses year after year after year. And here's the thing. I know you think the performance review is BS. I did too. But it is the company's record of what your actual weakness is. And so it should be your life mission that next performance review, any weakness you've gotten in any historical performance review is not cited. And so if you're going to do that, you need to be really contextual to what feedback you've gotten, and then you need to go deeper. So let's say you gotten feedback that you aren't influencing the engineers well enough. This is very common feedback. Then you want to meet with your different engineers and ask them some good questions like, who's the best product manager you ever worked with? What made them influential? How would they have approached today's sprint planning versus how I approached today's sprint planning? How would they have approached that last PRD you worked on versus what I wrote in my PRD? How would they have approached future results write-ups? What areas of improvement do you have for me is actually a bad question because people want to be nice. So you have to give them room to actually give you real information and make sure that you're flipping your performance review. That was the thing I think I did more effectively than most, is I had my weaknesses along the way, but I always address them. That's the first thing. And then the second thing is, yes, performance reviews are BS. I agree. They are. So have your own North Star compass around what are the skills that I need to be improving as a PM. I'll be honest, for the first 10 years of my career, that was discovery. I wouldn't say that I was amazing at discovery. I would say that my leaders were really good at discovery, and I was good at recognizing when they had discovered a good problem. But I wasn't necessarily coming up with the right problems to solve. It took me 10 years to learn that. And so you need to be super honest with yourself. I wouldn't say I got discovery in my performance review feedback. It was something I knew myself. And so those were the 2 things that helped me the most to get promoted.
Yeah, that actually resonate with me. And especially that lots of people say performance review is BS. When I was an IC, individual contributor, I felt the same way. And then after became a director and need to write other people's performance review, I see on the other side of the table, I was like, people literally need to work on the things. Yes, a lot of people actually have very similar feedback. They never take it seriously. For example, we have seen very obvious things. In the 2 women I managed when I was a director. So one person, she has computer science degree, literally went to one of the best school. And the product we build on is edge computing product. It's a decentralized cloud. It's very like technical. She literally is a perfect person being able to work on the very technical product. And then I have another woman, it's also another young woman, and she came from the UI UX design background, and not technical at all, but she's also working on edge computing product. And then when I give them feedback and I realized that actually the initiative within the UI UX design person significantly better than the other person. And then she's ranking higher. Literally in the process, promoting the person who is not technical to be the next level. But the one who is a technical, went to perfect school, everything on the paper is perfect. We're just thinking about, well, maybe is something wrong regarding the scoring systems instead of focusing on yourself. Now when thinking back, yes, there's like a lot of interesting perspective you need to look at. And especially when you need to compare yourself with the coworkers. That's where the layers coming in, because when you see yourself, it's always, I did really good job. Wow, your coworker actually went above beyond. That's why I have a series inside the AIPM bootcamp. I call this, one is snowball effect, one is cube effect. Snowball effect is you push a little bit, let them grow. They keep on growing, improving themselves, or take advantage, grow themselves. Cube effect is you try to figure out one thing and you move and you push them again, then move again, roll one more time. Does that actually lead to slow down of the career growth?
Yeah, and most people are cubes, let's be honest. So, most of you listening, like, you're not able to move forward your weaknesses. I would say on my own team today, that's still the case, even though I feel like I've hired really good people. It's like the weaknesses that we talk about month after month after month, they persist. And if you should really aspire to be that person who it isn't. And if you're listening and you're saying, oh, I'm not a cube, I'm a snowball, you know, it's kind of like thinking you're a good driver. All the bad drivers think they're a good driver too.
Yes.
It's almost better to think you're a cube because you want to approach it very humbly that, you know what? I have, since I was a 5-year-old, I've had this problem that I'm still working on. You almost want to draw it back and be humble instead of say, I'm an amazing PM. Can you believe I wrote my PRD 2 weeks in advance? As you said, there might be another PM who wrote their PRD a quarter in advance. It's really important to keep your eyes open to what your other peers are doing because all PMs are pretty good. And so assuming that you're pretty good, that worked for you in your last job is going to work in your current job is a huge mistake.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, totally agree. But also add something too, which is in terms of continuous improvement, growth mindset. For example, right now everyone's learning AI, like you or using AI. I think today's PM need to learn two things: using AI and also for their own personal productivity, doing PM work. And second thing is actually creating AI product or thinking about whether, or at least make technical decision. Do we need to use AI or not? Those are continuous growth methodology people need to think about. And actually, I also find out actually the AI was able to develop product much faster. I was so surprised to see that inside our first cohort AI PM bootcamp, last time when we discussed, we launched 8 real life AI product within 2 months. It's like significant faster. So people can actually learn AI things much faster and then start to experiment and then become your competitive advantage compared with your coworkers that led you to the next level. So it's a many different strategy people haven't really tried out, just but staying where they are right now, thinking about why I'm not promoted. I'm glad we have this conversation today and it demystify all the promotion paths. Awesome.
100%.
Cool. And Aakash, let me ask you the question. As we talk about growth and lots of new PMs, and in the process thinking about how can they break into tier 1 companies, do you have any specific advice that would you give to new PM or aspiring PM or someone who is relatively entry level PM who want to grow their career and especially break into top tier companies?
Change your time frame. It's not going to be a 1-year thing. It's not going to be a 6-month thing. It's likely going to be a 5-year thing, depending on where you work. Look at the role you want, the company you want specifically. First of all, does this tier 1 company hire in your geography where you're currently located? Because all tier 1 companies have a work from office requirement for at least 3 days a week. So if they're in your geography, now look at other people in your geography. What was the prior company that they worked at? So a really common honeypot for Meta is Capital One. Capital One is way easier to break into than Meta. So you break into Capital One, you get promoted a couple times at Capital One. You know what happens? Meta reaches out to you, just like they reached out to everybody else who they've hired from Capital One. So if you have this 5-year aperture towards breaking into a tier 1 company, that's the step 1. Step 2, reduce your expectations around title. I know it's cool that
Totally
Nancy
agree.
was a director and I was a VP, but at a tier 1 company, to be a director or VP, you need 20, 30, 40 years of experience. So they're going to hire you at usually a lower title than what you have today. Instead of thinking about title, think about total compensation. The
Exactly.
average product manager at Google is making more than your average director at other companies. So you have to look at the total compensation instead. And you also then have to be humble, which is the final point. Humble around your work. you want to keep improving your product craft. Always think that I could write better PRDs, that I could influence better, that I could write meetings better, that I could manage my time better. If you continue to have this growth mindset around those skills, then when you hit a Google, you hit that tier one company. Here's the other thing people don't tell you. At Amazon, they're letting go of the bottom 5% of their performers every year, even though they're a tier one company. Even
Mm-hmm.
at Google and Microsoft, they're doing layoffs every year. So is Meta.
Yeah.
So they're letting go of the bottom performers. So you don't want to luck into any of these tier one companies, anyways. You want to take the long route. You want to make sure that your skills are ready. And then you want to be humble about the icy role that you'll typically land in.
Yeah, exactly. I want to emphasize on the bottom 5%, 10% Amazon. It is unspoken rules and truths, and lots of people was very stressful and in the day-to-day life in Amazon because they always like rolling people off. And Amazon, I think, is a company that's very obvious was in fan company, has very stressful work culture, and they also have those kind of frugality principle within the company. And actually, I have a lot of students working for Amazon right now. Some of them literally tell me that they want to leave the company for two reasons. And number one, they're implementing 5 days per week working from home policy starting from January 1st, 2025. It's like, I think it's not good for new moms like myself. And second, it is the type of like very competitive culture. You need to really be a high performer and pushing through. And then they don't really do a lot of like social activities for people to chill. Everyone is like, work hard, get, produce. And people need to really understand what it takes to make those $300,000 per year, $500,000 per year, or $1 million per year, and then have your very career planning, and then start to take actions, break in those fan companies. But I do believe that, well, breaking fan companies and sooner or later is going to grow your career, grow your income, open up lots of new doors for you for sure. So it's quite important people use the right strategies to make it happen. And actually, we have a playlist where I teach people how to break into fan company, what the interview questions look like, and what the best framework to answer those questions. I'm going to link in the description or show note. People can start learning, starting for free, starting from today. Cool. And Aakash, let me ask you those growth. So today we talk a lot about growing product, growing technology. What about growing ourselves, growth mindset? Can you tell us any specific advice regarding what resources to use to grow yourself and the importance of having a growth mindset?
So for me, I like to think about it just like the performance review example we gave. What is my report card for myself? So where are the areas where I got a B or a B minus? Because I really hate those. I want to get straight A's, right? And having a really good report card on your skills allows you to take innovative approaches to improving them. So let's say it's your executive presence in meetings, because that's a very common area for people. What if you join Toastmasters? What if you Toastmasters, for people who don't know, is like a public speaking coaching club for
Mhm.
adults. Or what if you literally hire an executive coach who helps prepare you for new meetings coming up? You want to invest in yourself. If you think about your companies that are growing fast, they always have a lot in R&D. It's funny to me that even the people working there, when they look at their personal income statement, they have no spend on R&D. I'll talk to people making $200,000 who want a $300,000 job, who aren't willing to spend $10,000 on themselves. Seems misguided to me. To me, I actually, in a lot of things in my life, I want to pay for the premium version. I want to pay for the best advice, expertise, coaching, improvement out there. Instead of just having low quality food, I want to put high quality food into my body. Similar way, I want to put high quality coaching and learning and R&D into my body. And so being willing to spend on this report card area, I feel that's the key to growth mindset. I think you guys have all heard the tire advice already, like make sure you are thinking in a growth mindset way, make sure you're confident in yourself, but also
Mhm.
make sure you're humble. So I just wanted to add this 2 cents that spend on your report card areas of weakness.
Exactly. That's where the 10x coming in. And I'm also always a big believer in terms of coaching and investing, like hire a coach, literally hire a coach, grow myself. Every aspect in my life, I have a coach myself. And to be frank, I personally do not take $10 Udemy course because I think my time is more expensive than $10, Udemy, even they give me for free, I won't take it because I want to get the result. Busy mom of 2 kids and I'm doing like full-time content creation. There's no time. I just want to get the result. And I really believe in the 10x methodology, which is literally any kind of investment I had in growing myself, I have 10x return on investment for the money I put in to grow. I'm glad we resonate on this very, very specific concept. I hope everyone can really take it seriously and thinking about your definition return on investment for your growth strategies for your career as well.
You get what you pay for. I mean, if you're using free resources, everybody else has access to those as well.
Yeah, exactly. So now lead to my final question, Aakash. How can people find out about you and follow you?
Yeah, so LinkedIn is my kind of primary social media. You can find me on Twitter as well. Those are my 2 favorites. Of course, I'm available everywhere else. That's because I'm promoting my newsletter and my podcast. That's how I make a living these days since having been a VP of product. So if you're interested in the type of content we talked about today, I publish 2 newsletters and 2 podcasts a week.
This is awesome. That's a lot of content. I can barely keep up with that. I do 1 YouTube video and 1 podcast every other week. I hopefully one day we can reach your productivity level and maybe leveraging your AI. Thank you so much for joining me today, Aakash. So everyone, if you like all the free content we provide you today, make sure to like and comment and also share this amazing podcast with all the product managers or senior PM or aspiring product managers so that we can all grow together in this community. This is Dr. Nancy Lee from PMAccelerator.io. I'm going to see you in our next episode right here.